Welcome to YouTooSpain Live. On today's show, we take a close look at what happens after you get your non-lucrative visa and then arrive in Spain. So what happens next? Well, joining me on the virtual settee by the virtual pool shortly will be our mate residency specialist, Chris from Upsticks.es, who will guide you through the residency process so you can all navigate it smoothly. And of course, he'll answer any questions you have. I might even answer some questions myself if I'm feeling brave. There'll be plenty of very helpful information and answers all throughout the show, so stick around, enjoy the live chat. If you're watching the video back afterwards rather than live, you can ask questions and you can chat in the comments below. Do that on YouTube then, but not in any random Facebook group, because otherwise nobody will benefit from the answers there, but they will if you do it on YouTube. First of all then, gather round, give us a wave, hit the like button down there somewhere, have your questions ready, or just relax and enjoy the chat. You're all welcome to YouTooSpain. Get ready to dance. Here it comes. Oh yeah, groovy baby. Right then, just before we get chatting, don't forget to make a note of our website. It's written down there all the way throughout the show. You can't miss it. YouTooSpain.com. It's growing all the time. I've just added 3 more blog articles. The blog articles, by the way, they're basically just the scripts of the Wednesday videos that come out every week, only simplified. They don't have the characters in them that you see making jokes all the way through the Wednesday videos. So very good for those of you who get distracted by the humour and everything else that's going on, so you can actually focus on just the facts. So that's really good. There's loads of resources on there as well, links to all of the specialists, including Chris from Upsticks, and links that you need to documents that you need for your visa, that kind of thing. And also things that you need for living here as well. There's a free newsletter at the beginning of every month. That's coming up soon. I've got to write that over the next couple of days. You can sign up for that for free. Doesn't cost you a penny to subscribe to that, nor does it cost you anything to click subscribe somewhere down that side, yes, on this very channel on YouTube. Subscribing on YouTube just means you're telling YouTube that this is one of your favourite channels and you want to know when new videos are coming out. So if you click on the little bell as well, that's the notifications bell, and just select all. That's the way to do it. And that is a win-win-win with a cherry on top. There we go. All of these slogans are available on t-shirts. The link to that is down below. Now, without further ado, let's meet our excellent guest for today. It's Chris from Upsticks.es. Hola, Chris.
Hola, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yes, we're all good here in Malaga.
Brilliant. You've been celebrating the last couple of days, haven't you? It's your daughter's birthday.
We have, yeah, with some fantastic live music. That was good.
Yeah, I wonder who was that? Who was doing
Who was
that? Just some strange scats music going on, yes. Lots of ska and yeah. What else did I do? Just Queen and loads of David Bowie. Yeah, that was fun.
My son loves David, but it was quite good actually to see. Obviously, a lot of the Spanish contingent really loved the rock music, so that was great.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So, good to see. I even did La Bamba. And,
yes.
Introduced it in Spanish. I was quite proud of that. There we go.
And happy birthday in Spanish as well.
Yeah. I still can't remember the third line. The first, second, and fourth line is just Feliz, Cumpleaños Feliz, and that's very easy. But yeah, I'll write it down one day. Anyway, let's do some shout outs. Any of your clients have got their visas? Yeah,
again, London on Manchester actually kicked out a few. The applicants are from June, so early June, so 10 weeks down the line. But they actually kicked out some visas this week, which was good. And then we had a family of 3 come through London as well, but extremely quick. I think they broke all records. When did I get back from the UK? I got back from the UK on the 14th. Their appointment was the day before I came back, so 12 days with that.
That's good for London. You had an 8-day one in Edinburgh, didn't you? Was that last year?
Yeah, see, I think we had the 8-day one in Edinburgh. I don't know how. I think John was quick as well with watches, and then we had the 8-day one in Edinburgh, and this one from London actually came in 12 days with a requirement letter.
Wow.
Well, so they immediately and the communication from BLS in London with the requirement letter. I've never seen this before, where they actually sent a physical letter, an email, and dropped a call.
Wow.
It's like, wow, they really want this thing. So it's really good. Yeah, that's positive for people who are applying in London.
Yeah, it's good to see BLS working. I was a bit nervous about that, farming anything out to a different company. It's yeah, I always find that a bit dubious, but seems to be working well.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's a case of. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, their payment structure with the Spanish government. Who knows what that is? But if it's the case, it's based on performance. It's in their interest anyway, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah.
Get them processed and get them out.
Brilliant.
So,
good to see. Anybody else that you wanted to say hello to?
I think that's it today. I think that was something that popped into my head afterwards. But
Cool. We were talking about Robbo earlier. Robbo is definitely on there. Morning to you. Morning to Budori. And we're not just going to say, when you get to Spain, you must apply for your residencia. He said, if that's all you say, then the angels will cry. Well, no, of course. You've seen the show before, surely. We don't get up this early on a Saturday morning just to give you one sentence and then leave. It depends is a big thing here, so there'll be
I have
lots.
to apologise to Robbo, because I actually have got my notes here, Robbo. Robbo's asked me 2 questions, and I said, you know what, instead of answering them in an email, what I'm going to do is do a couple of videos for the channel. Because I take most of my videos from FAQs from clients. And I haven't done them yet, but they are here, Robbo. They are here ready to do. So when I get a couple of minutes, I'll get them on.
Brilliant. Andy Cooper, morning to you. Pezza20, Jed Tierney, and Bev. Good morning, Bev. And Jed says it's pouring down in Manchester. That's never happened before, but I can hear your fan going over there. Yeah, it's very, very close to me over here because it's. Especially with 3 lights on in the studio, it does melt a bit. Adam Farmelo is currently melting in Kalis in Turkey. And Anton Kerry, aka Mitchell, says, Hola, good to be back watching live after a very busy time and a prolonged heat wave over here. Que tal? All is good here, yes. Muy bien. Alicante Explorer, good morning. And Jason's Web. And Robbo said, I hope you were saying nice things about me. Yes, absolutely. Of course we were. Oh, and Andy Dennis. Hi, guys. Got my appointment in London on Wednesday, thanks to Chris. And, of course, you scats. There we go. So, yeah, good luck on Wednesday. Oh, yeah. Good luck next Wednesday. So, right then, this is part 2 of a 3-week series. It seems to be popular, this 3-week series of Q&As about getting you through your non-lucrative visa process. Yeah. And that followed on from an update from all of the consulates in the UK as well. So it's more of a 4-week thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I got some positive comments. And when I did the pre-video for it this week, got some real positive comments. And then one of our clients as well actually said, oh, that'd be really good if you did, because then it's something to plug in. We have a little bit of a gap between people get their visa, then they're really, really busy organising stuff, and they get here, start stage 2, and they were like, oh, great, because those videos people can watch while they're, doing it. So it's...
Yeah. There's a lot of good things you can prepare, which we'll come to in a minute then. So, and yes, we covered the visa appointments in the UK last week, and a lot of the facts actually work. So if anybody's watching from anywhere other than the UK, I'm sure there's a lot on the show that still is relevant to you. But we do have a lot of people from the UK, so there do tend to be a lot of answers for them in particular. But anyway, this week we move on to arriving in Spain and sorting out your residency. We'll talk some things about the actual going to the residency appointment in the second half of the show. But perhaps we should start with some handy hints about what to do in advance of all of that. And in particular, let's go to getting over the border, getting your passport stamped, because that can be important, can't it, Chris?
It can, yeah. Just before that, when you do receive your visa, it's a very good. You have to make sure you check your visa and the details on the visa. So, as we know, the consulates, London and Edinburgh, you have to take a self-addressed envelope, or BLS actually have their own courier service. as discussed last week, they did actually tell me you could take one for a family. Then they told a family you needed one each. So take one each. That's just default to taking one each. And unfortunately, you know, if they don't use them, they don't use them. But when you receive your visa, worth noting that Manchester is still letting people take their passports back. So I mean, you've got to go back to get the visa in your passport if you do, or have the option of taking your self-addressed envelope. So you get your visa and you've got to check. There's a few main things. First of all, if you haven't had an NIE number before, then you'll see there's an NIE number issued on the visa. And if you have had one, just check that that NIE number matches your NIE number. We've had a couple of mistakes where they've actually issued new NIE numbers. It's not something that can't be dealt with this side in Spain, but it's just something you'd need to know to prepare how to fix that, or even speak to the consulate about it. And then also the start and end date as well. We know the visa lasts for 90 days. It's a multi-entry visa, i.e. you can use it to come in as many times as you like before you actually register your residency here. But we had one which came through from Edinburgh, which started 3 months after the person wanted to arrive in Spain. And it was a mistake, so they had to send their passport off. They were very good about it. They just stuck another visa on top of that visa with the correct dates. So very important that when you get your visa, just check it and make sure that it's all correct.
Brilliant. Okay, then. So we're at the border.
So we're at the border, yeah. So when you come in, the residency card that you get is going to start on your last stamped date in the passport when you enter Spain. So it's very, very, very important that when you come into Spain and you've got your visa in your passport, that you get a stamp in your passport. Okay? That makes it a lot easier at the appointment to then go and register the non-lucrative visa, because that's what the first thing they do is pick up the passport and start looking for entry stamps. Okay? What everybody's be screaming now? Well, I'm not going to have one because I'm going through France or something like that. Okay, you're not going to get your residency if you don't get an entry stamp, but that's the main thing is you try and get one. If you don't, so for example, we've had clients which have come on the ferry, and believe it or not, they haven't had their passport stamped for whatever reason when they've come through Santander or Bilbao. Then when you get to your point of origin where you're going to register, then it's best that you do a thing called a declaración de entrada. So that basically means you go to the police and you declare that you're actually in the country. Now, a lot of the time, you can actually do this with your TIE appointment if you book it properly, so you wouldn't actually have to go and make 2 separate trips. At times, people have come, not done this, and when that happens, we've had to have as much proof as possible when they enter the country. So everything from, hotel receipts to fuel receipts and everything to prove your ferry ticket, to prove that you're actually, Yeah. And
it's good if you come through France because, you're not going to do that drive in one unless you're completely bonkers. You'll have had hotels on the way down.
That's right, yeah. And also, we had for example, Almeria and Malaga, we've seen this circumstance where people have entered the Schengen zone through France. They've then gone to their TIE appointments only with the French entry stamp, and they've actually started the residency from that date. Okay, the problem is it really depends who you get on the day. So you need a decent appointment representative if you have got a dodgy entry situation. But we've never ever seen anybody who's been refused their TIE card, albeit they might have to sign more documents, make a declaration, or prove when they entered using other documents.
Brilliant, yeah. I had to put the "it depends" up then. That's going to happen a lot in the show. For those of you who've never seen it before, you'll see it a lot. We've even got t-shirts. Let's just say a quick hello to other people. Dupree, D-P-R-E-E-Y. Don't know how to say that. Morning, both. Mike, got our TIEs this year. It's taken ages to get Spanish driving lice. I presume he means license, unless we have lice who are driving in Spain. Or Robert says, do you have to let them know you have a previous NIE, or will they know?
No, you have to let them know. So this comes on your application form. So on the national visa application form, the EX01 and the 790, there is space to put your current NIE in there. Always a good idea, if you've got a copy of your certificate and your certificate, take it along with you. That would go, but definitely at the back of the pile, because it's not a requisite for the actual application. But we're like, look, if you have got it, take it, you know, and that hopefully would avoid any mistakes being made.
Great stuff. Robbo is saying, why would you not get your passport stamped in Santander? My ferry is booked for next August with flexi ticket.
You should do. We just had some people who drove through didn't get a stamp. You should do. You should.
Yeah.
If you're aware that you need a stamp, then definitely stop and say, you know, wave your passport. And you should evidently, when you're coming in, you should get your stamp. But we've had it a couple of times now where people have managed to get through and not get stamps.
Yeah, I do. They were really lax about lots of things at the ferry port when we came over. You know, we had a dog with us, and this was coming into Ireland as well from the UK. We'd spent loads on dog passports so we could go over, and we said, do you need these? As we went, said, yeah, no, just go through. So there you go. But at least we knew we did it right. So
yeah, no, it's frustrating. You know, all that effort that you put into getting the documents right, and they try and wave you through. It's like, no.
Both says last 2 times going into Fuerteventura that there's been no one to stamp the passports. There you go.
Yeah, and that was that happened in Lanzarote as well. We had that happened to us in Lanzarote, that people got waved through.
And Janet says, good morning, Janet. Does it need stamping on the visa page?
No. No. It's always a good idea when you go to your appointment, if you've got an awful lot of stamps in your passport, then you have to be careful with sticky notes, because sometimes they can destroy a passport page. But just if you have the page identified where your last stamp is, if you've got an awful lot of stamps, that's always a good idea as well.
Just look at it from their point of view. That's the good hint. Make it easy for them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, John McClue's with us. Morning, guys. Great show as usual. And Expat333 watching from Ireland. Hello there. Waiting for the Dublin consul to start again. Or did they stop?
Oh, I didn't know that. Are they on holiday then? Are they in August?
Maybe they were. Maybe they were taking the August break. Well, they'll be back after this weekend then, presumably. Is that the end? Is that when everybody comes back, Chris? We'll be in September now, won't we?
Yeah, it's a horrible month this month, because it's all lining everything up for September, because everybody's like half on holiday. And as I say, I mean, London's been flying through, and we have been getting appointments for this month, and people have been attending this month. We've had, believe it or not, we had a bit of an influx of EU residencies as well. So say our main businesses are non lucrative now at the moment, but we suddenly had a lot of EU, and we managed to get appointments for them as well. So it's all good, but it's a frustrating month, isn't it, this month?
Absolutely. So anything else to do with coming into the country that will help? Any advanced preparations? Timing, maybe?
Yeah, so obviously your timing, you've got to make sure that so when you're coming in, make sure that you have enough time, should we say, to register the TIE card. So don't leave it right to the back end of your visa. Here, so just before you leave, make sure that when you do enter Spain, if you don't get a visa stamp for any reason, stamp your passport for any reason, then keep all the proof that you possibly got, and let the person know that you didn't get a stamp who's helping you to get the visa. Try and get a stamp if possible, and also make sure that you have enough time to get into Spain and register your residency card. What I mean by that is that you have 90 days on the visa to get in, and it is multi-entry, okay, which means you can come in, go out, then come back in and register it if you want. All right. What the consulate advise is that once you get into Spain, you have 30 days to register that visa with them. Now, we know in practice, the actual 30 days never really happens. What you need to do is try and make sure that you book your appointment within 30 days of entering Spain. Again, that's the official advice. So that appointment, you may book it 30 days before, and that appointment might be in a month or two's time, depending on which estancia you're going to. Some estancias, like we've just had an absolute nightmare with Huelva because we just couldn't get an appointment. But then they suddenly came to life and we got them. But that will still get registered, but it's gone past that date. But as long as you try and make sure you've got enough time. Don't come 2 days left on the visa and then think that you can have an appointment the following day.
So that was a well-timed question that I just brought up from Alicante Explorer, asking about once granted, what's the maximum time we have to enter Spain to keep it valid?
Yeah, so you've got to enter within the visa period and make sure you've got an entry stamp within that visa period.
There you go. Okay.
And we always say belts and braces. So belts and braces, get your appointment in before the visa expires. What happens if you can't do that? Well, again, we've only had a couple of cases where the visa's actually expired, but the appointment was booked during the period of the visa. You don't want to be in that sort of situation where you're in Spain over the 90 days with an expired visa and not had your appointment, albeit you've got proof that it's booked. So it is possible. We spoke to a couple of the estancias this one was in Orihuela, actually, and said, look, it's impossible to get appointments. How this person's visa is going to expire? They were like, no, it's fine as long as you put the appointment within that date. The appointment's in 2 months' time.
Okay. My next question was going to be, how do you book the residency appointment?
Yep. So there's an online platform, which basically, evidently, if you're one of our clients, give a plug, we'll do all that for you. And prepare your file for you and stuff. But there's an online platform which you can go on. Which has recently slightly been overhauled, because I don't know if you saw the scandal of the people using the bots to book the appointments and set up. Absolute nightmare.
That was awful, wasn't it?
Trying to do it properly. And you get these people on the black market who would just block all the appointments and then force you to try and buy them up for them. But yeah, that's no longer happened. That ring has been broken.
They've booked them, yeah.
And the online platform is going to ask you for your full name and email address, a Spanish phone number, okay, and either your passport and your NIE number. Once you fill out those details on that platform, you'll be sent normally, sometimes, not always, we get a little nudge where it doesn't go to the security code, but 99% of the time, you'll get a security 5-digit code to your phone you have to add into the appointment you want to book to actually get the confirmation.
Brilliant. I'm just going to answer this ETIAS question, because there was one early on. Jason's Webb was saying, is there any update on ETIAS? I haven't heard anything recently. And Glenn Storley has just said, hi all, ETIAS, will this apply to the UK as from 2024? I think the last date I saw was kind of late in 2024 when they were talking about bringing it in. Previous to that, it was going to be November 23 this year. Still nothing. The ETIAS video that I made last year talking all about it is kind of, it seems to be being watched by lots and lots and lots of people at the moment, even though I've not put it up anywhere on any of the Facebook groups, but it just seems to be really popular. I don't know if everybody's getting really worried about it. I would say it's not a panic. Don't panic about this ETIAS thing. It's just the same as the system for getting into America. It's very easy. It takes you about 5 minutes online to fill it in, and all you have to do is pay. I think it's about £5 or €7 or something like that. And people are going on about it as if it's Big Brother and making a big panic about it, which is why that video is so popular. But keep on watching the video. I'm very happy about that. But yeah, but don't panic about ETIAS. It's just a system to make it all run smoothly, I think. And people saying that Europe is just ripping people off by charging them to get in, it's actually costing them a lot more than €7 per person to administrate the whole thing. So they're not making money on it. It's just an improvement in the system, I think. And you won't need to get your passport stamped anymore. That will be all on the system, and presumably all the extranjerías, when they do your TIE appointment, they'll be able to bring up the system that says this is when they went over the border into France, and this is you know, this is what they've been doing. It'll all be registered, and it'll all be a lot easier, I hope.
I mean, funny you should say that, because we once had it with an NIE. So we do quite a few of NIEs using power attorneys. Yeah, very much like what we did for you all those years ago now.
Yeah.
And it means that I get a stack of files, and we put the appointments together, and I go along. And there was one, because British citizens have to have a full copy of their passport when we apply for this to show the stamps in and out. At times they look at the amount of days, make sure they're not in Spain illegally, stuff like that. So say, for example, we've got an entry stamp but not an exit stamp because they had the appointment and they've left, and that's gone over the 90 days. We might have to justify that they're not actually here to get the NIE. And we had one where there was a couple and their stamps didn't match up, and they took it off, said, "Oh, the boss can look at this because they've got access to like Interpol." so he took it off and went, hang on a minute, we need to look at this. And they looked, and they actually, albeit they hadn't had the stamp, obviously had the information from border control. I don't know how they do it, when they scan the passport or whatever. Came back and said, "Oh yeah, no, it's all stacks up, and we can see the husband's got the same stamp, so we're going to give it to you."
Brilliant. So it's kind of already happening.
Yes, they must have access to something for the national. I mean, they are called frontiers, aren't they? So fronteras, the national police. So they must have access to that.
Yeah, they're already watching you. They recognise your irises when you're walking through. They'll even be able to take your fingerprints, and well, they're already doing that at some airports, aren't they? We did that on the way to America. So if America's got it, that means the CIA have got it, FBI have got it. It's all over Europe as well. Everybody knows everything you're doing. Anyway, Jason says, "No, I'm not panicking. I just want to be organised before I travel." Don't worry, Jason. We'll update you. You'll know when ETIAS is coming in. It'll be all over this show. So keep on watching.
You know your tap of coffee in Malaga anyway, doesn't matter. It's all on your digital trail.
Yes. Yeah, we've all got a fantastic. We've all got a stream of paperwork and a load of digital stuff that says where we've been and what we're doing. Yeah.
Well, jokes aside, we had that with one client showing me their Google travel thing. We didn't get a stamp. They're like, "I've got this, this, and this, and this. This is Google's registered it for me, like the monthly review, you know." So it was another digital trail of proof you've entered the country, whether they accept it or not, you know. We don't, but yeah, that's how we are tracked.
We've got GPS satellites that know where our phones are all the time, so that, you know, you must be able to get that information. Somebody can get it. So there we go. That's the Big Brother thing for today. Yeah. And what I say about people who worry about it, and I made a lot of jokes about it on my ETIAS video about what Brits were saying about what it said in the Daily Mirror and the Daily Mail and all of those kind of papers. And what I say is, normally, when you think about it, when the CIA, the FBI, the police, all over the place, it takes them ages to catch criminals, and all of the information that they've got. Normally, what happens is that something lucky happens, and some piece of information comes up from somewhere else, and it just happens to fit in. So, if you're worried about Big Brother, there are so many people in the world. They can't. They're only watching the ones that they know they're watching, and it's not true that there's. Maybe when AI comes in and it's really that good to be able to watch everyone at the same time, but how do they process all of that information? Maybe quantum computers, but that's all.
So you're not doing anything wrong. My digital footprint would be extremely boring.
It would, to and from work, and the restaurant.
Yeah.
How many tapas you've had in the week?
They're controlling how many prawns I eat on a monthly basis.
Yeah, they can't do that. Can't count the sardines you've got on your barbecue.
Yeah.
There we go, Robbo. Anyway, back to the subject of the day.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. Robert says it's so reassuring that Chris and his team do most of the paperwork and appointment bookings. Yeah, it is, because you need somebody who's sitting there on the button all of the time, making the phone call or hitting the digital appointment system, because I wouldn't like to do that for 24 hours to get an appointment.
To be fair, I'm going to give credit to my colleague Jane who does that. She does the stage doing, does a wonderful job, because there's it is hard work trying to get the appointments. It's not only that; it's people's travels dates, the appointments, Padron, which we can talk about in a minute, and getting it all lined up together can be a pain.
And that happened when we came over from Ireland. You'd kindly booked my EU residency appointment my NIE appointment it was, because we had to do that first. Anyway, that's another thing. But you'd booked it for about 2 days after we arrived, and because the car broke down, we didn't get to the place of the appointment. We knew we weren't going to get there, so we had to cancel it, and it took another month and a half to get another one. So.
Yeah, yeah, it did, and we did it a different way, didn't we? Because we were going to go in person, I think, to that appointment. I said, well, look, let's do a power of attorney. I've got it. Then when we see the appointment, I can just run and do it. It makes it easier. So.
Yeah, it all worked out in the end, and actually it worked out all the better because it meant that I didn't get my residency until the following year, and that meant I didn't start my business till the following year, which meant I saved on tax and saved on my social security. I didn't have to start that immediately, so all works out in the end. There we go. How do we get an NIE if no visas required? Oh, that's something we'll do on a future program, but let's answer the question anyway.
If I don't get it, how do we get an NIE?
Oh, Bev's got an Irish passport, so she doesn't require a visa.
Right. Oh, sorry, Bev. Bev's coming to have something to eat. I'm starving, Bev. Come on.
Yeah, come on, Bev.
I've spent your money up aside 4 times now, and I keep having to replace it.
Stop eating steak in that restaurant.
So you will get, Bev, because you've got an Irish passport. If you haven't had an NIE number before, you'll be issued one directly on your EU residency card. So you don't have to have one before you go. Just a tip on that note, where people have struggled to pay the actual EU residency taxes when they've been doing it themselves. I had a comment the other day saying I can't pay it because nobody accepts it because I haven't got an NIE, and so I have to go and get a pre-NIE to go and pay the tax before I go to my residency, etc. You don't. You just have to find a friendly bank. So you can actually pay the $7.90 application tax for the EU residency using your passport. We do it, okay? So we do it at Banco Sabadell. But if you haven't got an account with them and you're not a business, sometimes they just, palm you off. But it can be done. But you will be any first interaction with immigration or the extranjerías, if you haven't had an NIE before and they need to register you for any reason, they will issue you one.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay, thanks for that. So, lovely. That's answered that one. Let's see if... Oh, there was another question from Expat. Are there any regions of Spain that are obviously easier than others to get an appointment? Because we're considering several different reasons at the moment and have no real preference.
Malaga's the best. We'll see you here. Malaga's good. We like Malaga because albeit that sometimes the appointments you have to be really tricky. So you have an appointment come up. Oh no, they're running in October. You'll book some, and then suddenly they'll open September, and you're like, so you got to cancel or then rebook. That's our job to manage that. It's not a problem. But yeah, so Malaga's good. Cadiz, we could go through all of them. Generally is okay. The big regions, Murcia is generally very good, and we can get appointments there. Alicante is okay. It can be hit and miss, but you have to know when they're opening an appointment. So we have 1 day a week where we know they definitely open appointments in the city. So you have to hit that with our list, mobile phones, and then when that's closed, it's gone. You may see then random ones pop up during the week. So Alicante can be a lot tougher to manage, I'd say, than Murcia and Malaga, which are the main areas people go. Whatever areas do we have? Almeria generally is very good. They have morning and afternoon appointments. I'd definitely suggest if you can get an afternoon appointment there, going afternoon. It's nicer and more chilled. Again, if you do go in the afternoon and there is a problem, they can't sort it out until the next morning. So I'm saying that, but there won't be a problem first. But if you have got a problem, the immigration department in the afternoon is closed. So they just have people hitting the buttons, registering people. So yeah.
It's like applying for tickets for Glastonbury, isn't it? Everybody on there. You just got to keep hitting the button and hope you get through.
And they all have different platforms. So you have like one region, like Malaga, for example, the main office. They'll give you a whole month calendar to look at, and then they'll open various days, and you can look at that at various times. Where other places only give you 3 options.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So we've had it at times, especially in Alicante, where we've got couples and we've got one day, one the next day, and stuff like that. And it can be quite frustrating for them because, apart from the fact we've got to send an agent every single time, obviously, because we could do it in person, it can be quite frustrating for people having to go twice. A couple of times we've managed to, for want of a better word, blag it when we've been there and gone, look, they've got one tomorrow, but they're here together today. Can you do it? Yeah, it depends who you get on there. But if not, then I'm afraid it's two separate appointments, separate days. But if you've got the same entry stamp, you'll still get the same validity on the residency.
Great. Jason says, Bev should have a top-notch meal if Chris keeps testing out places to take her. He's already tested everywhere, several times. Yeah. So don't worry about that. Bev says that's why I'm delaying it. Yeah. No, Chris knows all the best places. I do like the idea of that. What's it called? It's near you. The steak place. It's called. Is it called Carnivores or something?
Oh,
like
Carnivoro.
that?
Yeah,
Carnivoro.
Yes. They've got a great Groupon deal on at the moment that I haven't tested, so I'm going to have to go and test that one out for you.
Yeah. Can I join you for that one?
Yeah, we're going to have to do some research, I think.
Yeah, we have to. Some serious research needs to happen. Yeah, a couple a day, I would say, for the next few weeks.
Definitely.
There we go. Oh, Jed had a question about, this is off topic, but never mind, on car insurance in Spain. Is it the car that's insured, which would mean anyone could drive it, as opposed to the person driving the vehicle having the insurance?
Yeah, the car's insured, so you have to look at the T's and C's, and also be careful now with people with British passports, because not all companies will allow people with British passports to drive, I'm aware. But yeah, I mean, here it works slightly differently, where, so for example, my car, I've got it insured with a policy which allows anybody who's got a European or British passport and is over 25 years old to drive it, so I can lend it to family or whatever.
Great stuff. And Alicante Explorer says, wow, you have a Groupon in Spain. Yippee.
It's
Yes,
quite good
we
at
do.
times as well.
It is, yeah. I had a bad experience, but basically, I look at the terms and conditions of the place that you're booking for before you make the booking. And if you're going to make a booking within 72 hours of the actual event, make sure that you check that out first, because I did it because you can't cancel and get a refund after unless you go through to customer service and spend weeks and weeks getting a refund. I got the refund, by the way, Chris, for the zip line thing.
Brilliant!
I booked it for the kids, but there was like an age limit, a lower age limit, and there was a weight limit as well. You had to be over a certain weight to go on it, and I was fine, but my 8-year-old grandson, no, too light, so couldn't do it. Anyway, Bev says I'm a veggie. Oh no.
No problem. No problem. We can deal with that. We can deal with that. Do you eat fish? Oh, that's a pescatarian, isn't it? But if not, I'm not really. But
oh, she says I'm not really, but it's worth a wind up. I didn't think you were. I'm sure we'd answered that question before, Bev. You'd already told us you were all right with large chunks of meat. Anyway, I should apologise.
Lots of different restaurants. Don't worry, I can find one.
I should apologise to all the vegetarians for my reaction to that, but I'm not going to. I love meat. There you go. So anything in advance? We're coming to the middle of the show, and we'll talk about the actual appointment after that. And we'll talk about the documentation as well. But anything else you need to do in advance before that?
Yes, obviously before you go to appointment, you got your appointment booked. Make sure you have your photos ready to take. Now the photo size is different. They call them here carnet, C-A-R-N-E-T size, and it's the same size you would have for a driving license, and they're a lot smaller than the passport or the visa photos you use for your initial application. Okay, so make sure. Now, it's very easy. A lot of people, I personally think it's a better idea, and here in Spain, we generally do have next to each extranjeria somewhere to get a photo. Okay, they normally don't do it in a booth. They are a lot better than, before, booths weren't that good. Obviously, glasses off if possible, and go and get them taken by somebody who knows what they're doing. And you will see that around all the extranjerías, there'll be places that'll be able to do it for you. So you need to prepare your photos. Obviously, then you need to actually prepay the tax. Okay, so depending on which residency, we're talking about the Non Lucrative Visa, here, you have to go and pay a tax at the bank beforehand. It's called a Modelo 790. That's less than 20 euros. I should have one here, actually. Yeah, I'll pick one out in the break. Yeah. And I can't show you. It's GDPR, isn't it? Anyway, looks like that. And pay that beforehand. You also need a application form. It's called an EX17. You need to fill that out and take a copy with you as well, along with your passport and a copy of your passport. Now, brilliant. The one thing we haven't discussed, we probably do afterwards if you want, is the Padrón, because some places need the Padrón registration, town hall registration certificate, and some places don't.
Okay, yeah, we'll go into that after the break. Brilliant. Okay, so as I said before we move on, let's have a quick message from me and my 3 wonderful alter egos about the wonderful things available to you as YouTooSpain fans. So here that is, and take it away, Scats. Are you getting something helpful from this show? Are you enjoying YouTooSpain? Then click on the thumbs up and subscribe to YouTooSpain while you're here. And click on the bell for notifications. It's all free, but it's worth loads of money. I need coffee to keep my picker up. You can donate coffee to us all. There's a link in the video description below, or use the QR code. It'll be in the top left-hand corner of the screen after this message, sweetie. But that's not all. You can support YouTooSpain with a regular monthly amount. It's only a few quid. Oh, he's worth a lot more than that. There's a link below to Patreon, where you can find out what extra groovy things you get by helping out. Oh, I'm all a quiver. One more thing. Get on with it. There's an important guest twiddling their thumbs. All right, calm down. The lovely video watcher needs this. Go on then. There are lots of other links to vital things below. Like what? Well, do you need private healthcare insurance? Yes. Do you need a visa or residency? Do you need to exchange currency? What about finding a property? Or getting tax and pensions advice? Or getting a Spanish mortgage? Or getting documents translated and apostilled? Or getting a medical certificate? Or finding a lovely little app for learning Spanish? Do you need the best mobile phone provider? Or a digital business card so you never need paper ones again? Or do you just want one of YouTooSpain's t-shirts with a slogan on it? You can even get discounts on dental treatments and get a lovely little smile like Scats. All of those links are there, down below. If you can't find them, ask me in the comments. Is that everything, darling? I need to get my nails done. Probably not, but let's get back to the show, shall we? Back to Scats in the studio. I wanted to say that. Oh, stop being beastly, you two. YouTooSpain. Over to you, Scats. Thank you very much, Scats, and Walter, Tommy and Dick for joining us. Tommy and Dick weren't even on the last video. It was just me and Walter. We had a nice time together. And if you have any questions for any of those, ask in the comments. And I was just going to say, we mentioned currency exchange. The currency has been really good, and it's been peaking at the moment. So this is a really good time if you're selling your house, if you're about to come over to Spain and you want to sort your currency. This is a really, really good time to fix the rate at that, and then you'll get more bang for your bucks. So use the link below to Smart Currency Exchange, get that all sorted. And so let's move on to the questions from Facebook. We've got one from Alan Lackenby. Good old Alan. He's one of your clients, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that says, here it is. If I entered Spain the end of November, when is the latest I can apply for renewal? So we were going to be talking about renewal next week, but let's answer that one now.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is renewal period is huge. So you have 60 days before the expiry of your card, and you have 90 days afterwards. You have a 5-month period that you can submit the documents in.
So that's kind of the end of February then?
The end of February, yeah.
Great.
I mean, you don't want to push it till then.
Yeah.
I'll try and get your documents in before then, because there's what's coming. Obviously now we're a year after our first renewals, and what's coming to light are problems like things like banks who don't understand that that people are in a renewal visa process and they're threatening to freeze people's accounts until they give them a new. I had this week, a new TIE card, and it's like, well, they can't do that, because you're illegally in the period to be able to apply for it. The bank's just like, yeah. So I mean, the earlier the better.
Yeah.
Really.
Great stuff. And the next question was from Nicola Cuthbert's son. Hello, Nicola. And it's quite a long one, but I'll paraphrase this one. Basically, her and her husband, they're going to be buying a house, Alicante area. They worked for the NHS. They're going to be retiring early at 60. They're going to have monthly amounts. So it sounds like 2 separate pensions, plus 2 lump sums. So they're going to buy a property before retirement. That's good because you'll save on the tax, capital gains tax. Looking to then apply for the non-lucrative visa. So if we have a shortfall on the monthly pensions, is it okay to use the savings for that shortfall? Simple answer is yes.
Yes.
And does it mean that we just keep those savings in the bank to cover the shortfall? You can do. Mm-hmm. There's a few ways of doing that. Mm-hmm. And my answer to that on Facebook was depends. It depends, as usual, on how much your monthly amounts are and what your lump sum is, all that kind of stuff, how much you've got in savings. And she said roughly the monthly is £2,000 all in until they get their state pension, and the lump sum's around £120,000. So I worked out very quickly, £2,000 is at 1.14, which is below today's exchange rate, but you'd probably get that amount, the €2,280 a month that you'd be getting through if you fixed your exchange rate at that, which is 27,360 in a year. So, and you only need 28,800. So you've got a shortfall of just under €1,500 altogether. So you'd only need €3,000 in the bank to cover you for your 2-year renewal there. So looks like you're in good stead there. Anything else to say, Chris?
No, just say I think for the initial application, they're going to have a good lump sum. There's nothing stopping you when you come to do your renewal in submitting. We sometimes do this with people who might have 2 or 3 sources of income and savings. Just a brief letter explaining what you're presenting. Mm-hmm. So. And you've got to remember that all of the renewals are looked at an individual case basis. Everybody looks for this sort of like specific documents that you have to present, but everybody has different documents. And there's no official guidance that says a P60 is okay, this is okay, this is okay. Mm-hmm. Right? So we know that they want translations, we know that they want X, Y, Z when we submit the renewals, but absolutely no harm in putting a document called an escrito, which says this is what we're presenting and why we're presenting it.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant.
You can do to facilitate the understanding of the documentation for immigration is great.
Excellent. I hope that answers all of your questions there, Nicola. If not, then ask in the comments below. Robbo was saying, what's this? It's a big question. When presenting photocopies of every page on your passport at the first NLV appointment, do I have to copy all 31 pages individually? Because when you open the passport and place it on the scanner, it will show 2 pages.
The 2 pages are fine.
If you've got a scanner at home and you're doing it on your computer, you can have one document which has got loads and loads of different pages. It creates a PDF and it says each time you scan a document, it says, do you want to continue or do you want to exit? And once you exit, eventually, once you do your last document scan, you exit and it comes up and it puts them all in a set of pages for you as a PDF document. So that's what mine does on my scanner anyway. But yeah, I suppose if you're doing it in a library or something, just on a photocopier, then that would be different. It would have to be all individual pages. There we go. And Jason says, how will I save on capital gains tax if I buy property before retiring and moving to Spain? That's the old big tax question, which we've covered on several of the other videos. Any of our videos which are about property or tax, Jason, we've answered that one quite fully with all of the it depends. But basically, you've got to sell your property in the tax year before you become a tax resident.
Yeah.
That's the simple answer.
And watch the period. Tax residency in Spain is January to December.
Yes,
Most
and you need to have spent 183 days plus in Spain to become a tax resident in that particular tax year. So if you're moving in the second half of the year, and you haven't been on holiday in Spain and used up a load of days there, then if you move after something like July the 3rd or July the 4th, then there aren't 183 days left in the year. So you won't be a tax resident until the following year. So it's all about the timing of when you sell and when you move. There you go.
A very valid point that came up on your tax advisor, who said don't forget also the days before you get residency count if you spend 183 days. A lot of people don't realise that. So.
I've heard some other people say no, those days don't count. But no, I've read the law on that, and that seems to say yes, it's all about the number of days that you have spent. It doesn't say whether you spent them on holiday or it's after only counts after you arrive on your residency. Yeah. So
and another point that he said as well was the days when you have residency, albeit you spend in the UK, count as well. So if you go on holiday, if you get residency and you go on holiday for 2 weeks, those days count after post residency.
Yes.
And the days before you got residency, if you had a 2 weeks holiday, would count as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So once you've got your residency, that's it. You're counted as being in Spain. Good. Janet says, 38 watching and only 11 likes. Come on, guys, hit that button. Yeah, absolutely, hit the like button. Unless you've hit it already, in which case it just wipes off the like. So don't do that. Yeah, everybody hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't.
We've got 38 watching. I'm nervous now.
Yes. Well, it says 40 on my screen. Maybe I'm a bit ahead of the game. Jason says plan. Ooh, I think that was a slip on the keyboard there. I plan to buy property before I move and retire on the non-lucrative visa. Great. It's a good thing to do. So let's get to documentation. Did you go through? You went through that a little bit before the break.
Yeah, the one that we left was it depends. The Padrón, didn't we?
Yeah.
Right, so we have this is the biggest it depends. So in all circumstances, if you can get a Padrón before going to register your visa, then perfect. It's great to have one in your file. But it's not always necessary on the first registration. Okay, so here in Malaga, for example, in this province, they don't always request the Padrón for the first registration because they understand that it's a first registration. And in fact, we actually did an EU one as well this week without a Padrón. And because it was a first time registration, you're declaring your address on the application forms and they accept it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In Alicante, it depends who you get behind the desk, whether they request it or not, and what office you go to. So we know, for example, Orihuela normally will be like you have to have a Padrón and that's it, whereas the capital is slightly more lenient on that. Mm-hmm. And the same goes for Murcia. Now, why would they ask for a Padrón? They ask for the Padrón if there's any doubts about the address where you are going to be registered. These might come up, for example, for people who've had previous registrations in Spain, maybe NIE numbers and stuff like that. So we had one in Granada where the client had an NIE number which was issued in Figueroa. Okay, they're now moving to Granada, and they actually phoned me up beforehand because we have an afternoon appointment. They're very nice in Montreal. I love the Montreal appointments. I always take them for myself. And they phoned me up beforehand and said, look, is this guy got a Padrón? Because the NIA was registered in Figueroa and I can't change it to Granada unless he's coming down with Padrón, albeit it's first time registration. Mm-hmm. So the Padrón is a big, it depends. So you remember to get one, we'll go through the whole Padrón process as a video itself, but a long-term rental to own a property. Mm-hmm. And it is whatever happens, even if you don't get it for your first visa registration, it's definitely something you should do as soon as possible.
Bev's saying, does an Airbnb count?
No.
No, it's hard to get rental in Fuerteventura. I've heard that on the Facebook groups about people saying really, really difficult. What can you do?
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, the first thing is, again, we check depending on the offices where we're going, whether we know if they need one or not. So a lot of people actually do Airbnb, come to Malaga. We've got a client at the moment who's traveling around Spain for the first 6 months, but started a journey in Malaga because we know we can register him without a Padron in Malaga using a temporary address. So in that sense, yeah, he's actually used a temporary address, and we'll get that updated as soon as he's got his Padron certificate. Whereas other areas, I don't know about Fuerteventura. I'd have to ask Jane, my colleague. She deals more with stage 2, whether she knows whether there's a classroom there or not.
Need to find some friends in Fuerteventura that whose addresses you can use. That'd be a sneaky way of doing it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody hiring out their address as an address for a Padron. I'm sure they'd work it out once they realised they'd got a joint Padron for about 40 people or something like that. There we go. Andy Cooper. Oh, Andy Cooper says, if you can't find LTR property, can you use the deposit on a property as proof? Or if you're buying a property?
That's a good question. So long-term rental property, can you use deposit on the property as proof? No, you need to have the property purchased.
Yes.
Yeah, no. If you to get on the Padron, you mean a town hall would require the proof of the purchase.
I think that you can do it with if the purchase. If you've paid the money for the purchase, but you haven't yet got the thing, you can use the deeds, I think.
So before the land registry, because that can take ages. As long as you've got the deeds to the property, you've been to notary, that's fine in most circumstances.
Yeah. Great. What's this? From Jason, I'll just get Chris and Upsticks to do my NLV as Padrons, apostilles, etc. Seems a bit complex for me as a non-Spanish speaker. It can be. It's possible to do it on your own, but I feel much safer in the hands of Upsticks.
Thank you, guys.
Janet says, my NIE was done in Elche and I'll be registering in Torrevieja. I do have a nota simple. Are they strict on Padrons? Better tell everybody what nota simple means before answering that one.
Yes, so the nota simple is the land registry document, which basically proves who is the current owner and the current situation of the property. We always get an updated one for NLB applications, and it's good to submit them on the renewals as well. But you shouldn't have any problem, Janet, getting a Padron because you've already got a nota simple for your property. It's just a case of registering that with the town hall and getting one. Really. So, I'd say do that before your appointment. If you don't have to risk going without one, then there's no point.
Jason said, I should have an NIE if I have bought a property before the NLV. Yes.
Yeah.
You definitely need an NIE to buy something that big.
And you have to do a whole video on this, but just be wary of people who make NLV applications, submit your documents, and then go ahead, buy a property, get an NIE number, because you could end up with two. So the best advice is always, if you're going to get an NIE number, do it before you make the application for Non Lucrative Visa, then use that number on that application. Don't have two applications going through immigration at the same time.
Bev says, might have to go to Computer. Well, instead of Fuerteventura. Yeah, come to Computer.
Come to Malaga, you'll love it.
Yeah, do both.
Do both, yeah.
But yeah, not in a day.
Province.
Yeah, it's all in Malaga province. We're just at the very, very end. If you hop over the mountains, you're in Granada province from where we are. But yeah, it's all groovy in Malaga. So, you did go through all of the documentation needed. You mentioned all of the forms.
Yeah.
So where do you go on the day? Do you get a choice?
You do. So each province has. So, for example, I think Malaga's got 9. It didn't always used to be like this. It used to be that you had to go to the one which was closest to you, and we used to have to work out which towns corresponded to which office. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, people, if you're coming now, 2023, but 10 years ago, it was a case of working out which office corresponded to you and then queuing up outside at 5 o'clock in the morning for a ticket. Now we've got this lovely online process, and we have access to every single office in the province. So if you can't, so for example, we did, I know yours wasn't an NLV, but yours and Liz's was, which is a similar process for Liz. We managed to get Meleth Malaga, didn't we, which is down the road from you. Sometimes we can't do that, so we have to take people to maybe Malaga or a different place, or we can get an appointment, which also fits their timescales as well.
Mhm.
So the extranjeria offices, which are basically the people who are in charge of registering your card, they can't make any adjustments to whatever immigration have put on your system.
Mhm.
It's worth saying that. So if you go in there's a problem, you have to deal with it with immigration, not the extranjeria. They are simply there to register the fact that you've turned up, you've given them their fingerprints, you've registered your visa, and you walk away with a document called a resguardo, which proves you've done so.
Mhm.
But yeah, you can go to any one of these offices in your province. Some provinces have more, some have less. So, for example, Malaga has a lot, 9. I believe Granada only has 3. So they have Granada, Motril, and Baza. That's a lovely place to go. I've been there a few times to meet.
Yeah, cave houses. That's what you get there.
You do cave houses and one of the old school extranjerias. It's like Harry Potter when you go there. It's great.
Yeah, we love them. 18 degrees all year round. We could really do with one of them now, but I wouldn't like to bang my head on the wall.
I'm claustrophobic, so I wouldn't do it.
Oh yeah, no good. There's no windows in them.
No, it would be no good for me. I'd sleep outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what you need. So the extranjerias, yeah, you can go to anyone in your province. Again, it depends. Sometimes, for example, we have people who live in Torrevieja and we have to send them to Alicante because you just can't get the appointments in Torrevieja. You know, it's just a shame. And if the timescale don't work, you have to go to the main city. Which also means that the pickup of the card, which is normally around 40 days after your initial appointment, you have to pick it up from the same place as where you applied.
Mm-hmm. So this is the extranjeria. Is that the same as the foreign office? Is that the same as the police station? They all mean the same thing?
So no, it's not the same as the foreign office. So you'll have, and quite confusingly, they also call the foreign office the extranjeria.
Ah, that's where my confusions come from.
So this is where you get it confused. So you have the Policía Nacional, the extranjeria section. All right. So the Policía Nacional, they are in charge of fronteras. So they are, when you say, so anybody, who's checking people in, frontiers is a Policía Nacional, and they're in charge of actually doing the checks. So what you're initially doing when you go to register your visa is you are checking that you have everything in order. They look at he's here, stamped in, blah, blah, blah. Now, what is the extranjería, which is known as the subdelegación de gobierno, which is a subdelegation of the government? They're the people who do all the management of the immigration files. Okay. So you have your file go off, and for example, in Almeria, it's the same office. In Malaga, 2 completely different offices. Granada, same office. So the 2 departments sometimes work together, sometimes they're separate.
And is it the same one you go to if you're an EU resident?
Yes, so the EU residents have absolutely nothing to do with the subdelegación del gobierno, because the Policía Nacional are only registering people, and if you're an EU citizen, you already have the right to be here. So all they need to do is register that you qualify. So you skip that whole immigration process because you're EU. So you go straight to the extranjería, whereas all third country nationals have something to do initially with subdelegación, which is immigration.
Excellent. And I think that covers that question brilliantly. That's where to go on the day. So the appointment, what happens on the day? What do you expect, apart from just to follow you in and you doing everything for people? But if somebody's going in there on their own, what would they expect?
Yeah, so when you're going in on your own, what you'll find is that, make sure you're there 15 minutes before. Every single office has a slightly different system to let you in. For example, here in Malaga, there's a policeman on the door with a clipboard shouting out names. You have to make sure that you recognise your name. They're not going to speak to you in English, probably.
They might pronounce it really wrong.
They might pronounce it really wrong. Christopher Goodacre, I've heard shouted in various different ways, I can tell you. But look, the initial thing is you can't assume that they're going to speak English inside. That said, they're albeit they look like big scary buildings with scary people behind the desk, they're not that bad. They are 99% of the time you'll find that they're quite simpático. Make sure you get there early and work out what the criteria is for being let in. So, for example, in Murcia, you have to queue up outside, someone ticks you off. Malaga, they shout your name. Places like Marbella, they come out, shout your name. Fingerola's the same. Motril, you just walk in, go through the police, sit down, there's not many people, and then they'll shout your name from the desk. So that's the first thing, is managing that part. Once you go to the desk, make sure you've got a pen with you as well. You always have to go through security, so please don't take any hunting knives, guns, irons, or anything like that with you. And believe it or not, I actually had someone once turn up straight out of the campo with a hunting knife in his pocket.
Oh dear.
The police were like, you can't carry that. Like every time, I've just come from the campo. Of course I can. I use it to no, but ever just don't carry it.
You could carry a rabbit that you're skinning as you go in.
So it was terrible. I said, "What are you doing with a knife on you? You can't do that." So please don't take any sharp objects. We always have a laugh about that, but it's true. You do go through security most times. And make sure you've got your pen, your passport, your photo, and the application forms as before. The appointments aren't that long, unless you get to Motril, because not Motril, Batho, they just talk and talk and talk. But normally it takes about 15 minutes, especially in places like Malaga, where Malaga has now got its whole TDH, Tom of the Weyer, taking of the fingerprint, which is what it's called, section, and they're just in and out, in and out, in and out. It's just it's quite good to watch, to be honest with you. The efficiency of it all.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's what you expect. But yeah, and brush up on your terminology. So we send our clients. I'll show you it. This is the information pack that we send them with all the information. Mm-hmm. At the back of it, for a bit of fun, there's actually a glossary of terms.
Oh, very handy.
So before you come, it's got things like Inmigración and Padrón and TDH, and so you can learn all before you come. There you go. But Brilliant. It's true, So the more you familiarise yourself with the common words you're going to learn during the visa process, the less scary it's going to be for you.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. All right. Let's just put this note up on the screen because it's a lovely compliment from Ant, following you both for about 2 years now. Absolutely. Lovely people you are too. Don't think Chris realises how broad and current his knowledge is. Oh, he does. Switching subjects without notes, and SCATS is the best citizens advice bureau. Ray, move to Spain. Well, thank you very much. I've picked up a few things on my way through this show. I don't pretend to know everything, and in fact, I've been criticised for people saying, "Oh, you know it all." You don't. Well, no, I'm a presenter. I see myself as a bit of a David Attenborough. People used to ask David Attenborough lots of questions about animals, and he'd say, I've learnt a lot on the way, but I'm not the expert. You need to ask an expert on animals or plants or whatsoever. Presenters. There we go. But thanks for the compliment there, and Jed Turney agrees with you. Best and most knowledgeable channels going. Yeah, keep on sending us those messages and hit the like button if you think so. And good morning, Rosemary Perkins. There we go. And morning from, this is another new name for me, Steve Huggett. Great informative chat. Question I would like to ask is when the time comes to change our UK driving licence over to Spanish, do we keep the groups we are entitled to drive? Well, it depends.
Good question. You could lose any category after D, I believe. So because of the homologation of it's a commercial plus vehicle. Okay, so that's a whole video in itself. But we've been collaborating with Antonio's office to do our driving licenses. So I have to say, I've done up to 75 now, so they've done very well for our clients.
Brilliant.
But yeah, you do lose your bigger categories, which most people don't care because if they're retired, they don't want to be driving lorries. But
I lost my C1.
Did you lose your C1 with it?
C or C1? I can't remember, but it was I think it was because when I went for the medical,
they didn't put it on.
The guy was, he said, "Do you want to speak Spanish or English?" I went Spanish. Really confidently, and then my head exploded when he started talking to me. So I think I think it was my own fault for for not saying, oh, let's do it in English, and then I can ask you all the questions I wanted to ask. But
that's a great tip, though. When you go for your medical, it doesn't cost you anything any more for them to add all the categories on that medical. But if they don't add all the categories, you won't get it. So, you know, if they put up to cars, then so when you go, get them to put it all on, make the application, see what comes back. I believe after D, you're not going to get, but make sure it's on the medical anyway.
Yeah, if it's above a certain amount, then you have to. You only get it added on for 5 years as well, because you have to redo your license every 5 years, don't you, for those bigger categories, but not for the normal car one.
Yeah,
that's what they told me. And let's see, let's just take that one away then. And Bev says, thanks, Ed. We'll have to do a few scouting trips. Looks as if we'll have to start off on mainland Spain to get residency, but we do want to end up in Fuerteventura. That is one way to get your Padron, I suppose, is to start off in.
I mean, it's plenty of people go direct to Fuerteventura. We've actually got some colleagues over there, which we can. And I'm talking to Bev, we'll ask them about a specific circumstance as well. Which again, if you're sort of about being a presenter, a lot of the time we've got a huge network, and I'll be like, I need to run this by those guys, you know, because they're on the ground. You ask us anything about Malaga, we can tell you, you know, what T-shirt the guy's wearing behind the desk, but not in Fuerteventura, but we have got the colleagues there. So, you know, they may turn around and say, do you know what, if you go to the office in the south of Ireland, they don't ask first time, which means you're going to be fine.
Yeah, brilliant. Alicante Explorer says, talking about learning Spanish, I've got a family plan on Duolingo. I started off on Duolingo. Makes learning a bit of the language so simple if you use the laptop version. Oh, cool. Just bear in mind that Duolingo only do Latin American Spanish, so there are some words that you're going to find a little bit different. But it's a good start, I think. There are other platforms as well, I should mention. I shouldn't be advertising ones that I'm not getting anything from. Do we get a copy of your glossary? Yes. Janet says, absolutely.
Yeah. And it's an ever. I've got to buy bigger folders now because it's an ever increasing document. I'm doing some plugging now, but it comes with everything. When you start with us, we send this out, and there's little bits and bobs. It might to like things like this. Explains what your visa actually is, and things to read over a cup of tea. You know, while you're doing the process, what the apple still looks like. So
that's handy.
It's all about familiarization. So it doesn't matter how many emails and phone calls obviously we have during the process, the more you're familiarized with what you're going to look at, because one big thing that stuck out to me when I've been doing my trips to the UK to try and get into my head what it's like for someone coming, because when you live here you have no concept of what it is actually like for someone who's going to go through the non lucrative visa process. It's important to understand that. Is that how alien a lot of the documentation is going to be to people, because the UK is generally just not an administrative heavy like Spain place. So all that's in that book there, and it gets constantly added to when people send us FAQs, is stuff to familiarise yourself with the process.
And a lot of that's available on your website and on my website as well. So
a lot of it's come from things you've been asked on yours and on ours, and it's just. It's all familiarising yourself with your new life, basically.
Brilliant. Steve Huggett says, as long as I can still ride our motorbikes, lol. Thanks for the info, guys. Great job. Yeah, but make sure you ask at your medical appointment whether you can make sure you get your motorbike one, because you don't want to end up, you know, taking a big motorbike over and then not being able to ride it for a year or two while you're still on a lower CC motorbike. That's happened to a few people. And Expat says, what is the Padron? Well, that's a whole other video. Padron's it's like being on the register of who lives in a place. What's that called in England? I can't remember. Electoral roll, yeah. It's kind of like that, but it's kind of a bit more than that in Spain.
Yeah. It's your proof. It's your valid proof of address. It's your electoral roll. It's what, you know, it's... You use it for everything when you need to prove your address, from anything from a mobile phone to getting your kids in school to registering your visa.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely need one of those. And Bev says, Chris, we'll chat over a meal. Absolutely, yes.
Definitely.
I'll be taking notes and making frequently answered questions so you can put them in your folders. That's what we'll do. Yeah. No, we won't be talking business at all. We'll be talking about fun. And Jason says, Torrevieja, Oriela Costa, La Mata area I'm looking to retire to, so I assume this will be Alicante office for Visa. I think so. Yes, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, unless we can get you in Torrevieja or Orihuela. We managed to, for the first time in about 9 months, we managed to grab some appointments in Orihuela the other day. So yeah, if we can get you down there, we will do. If not, it's a day out in Alicante.
There you go. I've not been up there yet. Got to go one day. And Jed says, is it important to emphasise how autonomous, independent each area in Spain is? Yes, indeed. And we talk a lot about the south because that's where Chris's office is. That's where I live. There can be big differences, I suppose, especially up in the north of Spain. You go there, and one thing I found when I went on holiday there is we were camping in France, and we came into northern Spain, and I was expecting them at least to speak a bit of French because they're near the border, but they didn't speak English, they didn't speak French. I was totally lost. Not only do they not speak those languages, a lot of them mainly speak either Galician or Basque or Catalan, which can be quite different to the ear as well, and the accent is very different up there.
Yep.
So yeah,
I did my first one in Tarragona, which is in Catalonia, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, can you speak a bit Catalan then?
See,
there you go. That's all
I can understand a lot now still, but I've forgotten. I never went deep into learning it, but you do by default. I was there for 5-6 years, so you learn a lot. And we used to have meetings. Our boss would speak to us in Catalan, but we were allowed to respond in Castellano. We used to work with Andalusians, so that was quite comical. But it is quite different, you know. Things like if you say dog in Spanish, it's perro, and in Catalan it's gos.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's just one example of, you know, it's like blue in Spanish is azul, and in Catalan it's blau, like German. So it's like really weird. It's I can understand a bit when I go up there, but I would never dare to even try and speak it.
There we go. And Ant says, yes, Kes found that with Duolingo. My 50-year-old school Spanish kept saying, no, I don't think that's right. I still call a computer computador from learning on Duolingo. I can't get the one that begins with E. I still can't remember it into my head.
Ordenador.
Oh, it doesn't even begin with an E. There we go. Ordenador. That's my problem. I think it begins with an E. Ordenador. It's about ordering, keeping things in order.
Yeah.
It's a lot more basic. There you go. This is interesting. Rosemary says, does earning on your YouTube channel count as a job? Yes. Anything that you earn money from, it counts as a job. Do you pay tax? Yes. What does the amount start at? At the first cent that you earn, although there are allowances for, I think it's like 5,500 is the tax allowance, but basically you pay VAT on every first cent. I hope that answers your question. Any more you can say to that, Chris?
No, so any income, if you're doing an activity and you're basically you have to declare that income, then yeah, it's counted as a job.
Yeah. So this is part of my job. I have various different parts, but yeah, it's any few cents that I get from this. And by the way, donate up there. You can buy me a coffee, and yeah, I have to pay tax on that. There you go.
I never get to 4,000 watch hours on my channel. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I need longer videos.
Yeah, longer video. That's how I got there. The watch hours was doing these really long live shows. Yeah. That was very helpful. So what's Jason saying? Well, whichever Chris thinks best, I'll let you deal with it when I move. 5 to 10 years yet. Oh, is it that long before you move? There we go.
I'll be 50 then.
Wow. I'll almost be retired by the end of that time. Although I'll probably end up still here into my 90s, still talking to people online, just not be able to hear you at all. So we find in Rosa's Costa Brava 50% speak or understand French. So we managed with a bit of Franglish. Yeah. There we go. So Jason says, Rosemary, if you're moving on an NLV, you can't work, so no YouTube income. Yeah, I suspect that's why Rosemary was asking. Unless you're an EU person, which I am, so I can. So
EU family member.
Yeah, very true. So we've talked about everything you can expect on the appointment. You mentioned the TIE card and the
Yeah. So again, when you've gone through your appointment, you've walked out, you've got a document called a resguardo. Okay, this document is very, very important. The first thing you need to do is take a photo of that document. Okay, just get outside, take a photo. It's the first thing we do with our clients. All right?
scan it in.
Scan it in. We always say that about everything. That we keep your digital history. Now, what I'm saying, if you lose this document or whatever it is, they're not going to let you to pick your card up. But it's what they use to verify that you've been to your appointment when you go to pick your card up, because it's got a number on it, which is called your lote number. Okay, so your lote number is the number of the batch of cards which has been sent to them to look through to give you your card. Okay, now a lot of places actually publish their lote numbers online. Now the pickup appointments, this is very interesting as well. Every single extranjería seems to have a different way for you to book an appointment to go and pick up. So some, like in Alicante, will actually just let you turn up. Let's say come back in 40 days. You go up in 40 days, stand in a queue, pick it up. I think Mercy's like that. I'd have to check the Jane, can't remember. Then places like Malaga, you have to book a specific appointment to go and pick up. Keep an eye on the appointments, because you might think, 40 days are up, I'm going to book one. Next thing you know, you've got an appointment in another 40 days. So you've got to manage that as well. So that's part of the management process, because a lot of things you can't do until you've got your actual card. In theory, the resguardo document is the absolute proof that you've registered your residency and you can move around Spain like a residency using that document until your card arrives.
And in theory, you can go across the border, you can go back to the UK and use the resguardo to get back in again instead of your TIE card. But some of the people on the border are have been a bit dodgy about that.
Yes, and crazy things like here in Andalusia, they won't let you, if you're registering your car, for example, they won't let you book the ITV until you've actually got the physical card. They won't accept the resguardo as proof of residency. And I'm always shouting at them, saying it's wrong. Open the file, because the file takes 2 weeks to be studied, because they send it to Central Malaga to be approved, and then it goes back. Then they give you your appointment. They don't do any of that until they give you the TIE card. And our argument with them all the time, we've only managed to get them to do it a couple of times, is send the file anyway, get it all approved. As soon as we've got the TIE card, we'll have the appointment. But that's little things like that. Banks as well. Banks sometimes, some banks understand the resguardo, some don't. It depends who you get on the day. The resguardo is a perfectly valid document. But then we've had it with driving licenses where you think the DGT would be, oh no, you've got to have your card. They've been accepting them. Same with the S1s. So we have this as, again, part of the management of the process. When you're registering your S1, if you're coming on the S1 platform, Malaga, for example, understands the resguardo is residency. We're waiting for your card. Brilliant, we'll do it. Alicante, not so. We had one where we were waiting. Had the card, submitted it. 2 days later, the certificate came out.
Can we just hold on that? There's a good conversation going on, and I need to make some points about it, because there are some it depends. And it started off with Chris saying, if I've got 300,000 euros, would this allow me to move to Spain and search for a job while I'm there? Apologies, I'm very new to the process. Well, and Jason said, Chris, no, you can't work on an NLV, but you can. If you find a job, you can switch from an NLV to a working visa. So that is possible. And I did a video with Rochelle all about that. I can give you the link to that. Jason also said, if you can get 500,000, you can apply for a golden visa, then you can work, which is true. You can get residency on that one. Then he went on to say, if I had 500k, I'd buy 2 properties, one to live in and one to rent out. And then as you're on the golden visa, your rental income is fine. Well, your rental income is fine even on a non-lucrative visa, as long as you're not doing any active work to earn money from it. It can be classed as passive income. What you need to do is get it managed by a company in order to do that. So that is still possible. And Bev says, I think for a golden visa, it has to be spent on one property. No, you can buy several properties. You just need to be investing a total of 500,000 or more. So I think that answers most of the points on there. there you go. Anything else to add to that, Chris? Have you seen the rest of it?
I think the only one thing about property rentals is, and again, the estate agent will definitely tell me better, but you need, when you're doing your declarations, if you've got a long-term rental property, remember that the norm is you actually have to register a contract with the local government. So here would be the Junta de Andalucía. The reason I know, I've got my rental property that we have in Granada, and we rented that out, and we had to basically drop the deposit in with them for any possible feuds later on when the deposit's resolved, when the contract is dissolved. So that is not everybody does it. I think about 5% of people actually do that, but it would be a good way if you are using long-term rental contract to prove that it's just for long-term passive income. Make sure it's done properly.
Jason says, only trying to help, guys. No problem, Jason. It's good that you started that discussion because it's cleared up a lot of things that people might not know. So that's what we're here for. And Alicante Explorer says, didn't realise you could earn passive income in Spain on the non-lucrative visa. Wow, brilliant. Pension is passive income. Yes, you can. That's a good way to get through. So yeah, as long as you're not actively employed and getting some kind of wage. So even if you're sort of cleaning the property or introducing people to a property, a rental property of yours, you're not supposed to do that and take money for it.
No, so we have that. We've had these circumstances with the renewals now already, and so long term we discussed that. If you've got a long term contract, even if the sink breaks, you need to get somebody and get a proper factura to prove that you've got a company in to fix that sink. Notwithstanding that factura, you can use in your tax declaration as part of an expense. Okay, so yeah, that will also lower your earnings as a complication, but you can use that again. If you go get somebody fix something cash, you don't get the factura, you can't write that off expense against your income. For short-term rentals, for people who've got stuff on Airbnb and stuff like that, definitely you can't work on that rental. You have to have somebody managing it. What would be the ideal situation? Say I was talking to somebody who did this and they come to me for a renewal, which we're going to do next week anyway, aren't we? I'd say, give me the contract and the payments from the management company into your bank account, and that's what's going to count as your income for the passive renewal.
Excellent. And if you get the tax breaks if you're a resident, but not if you're a non-resident, if you've got a rental property. That's another one worth knowing, I think. And Jason says, ideally I would come on an NLV and try to get a job before year 2. Yeah. Although normally what people tend to do is they're getting close to their renewal, so they have to do their renewal first while you're waiting, because it can take a while to sort out contract details and get you working visa and everything.
I would say, that's what I always say to people as well. It was tough to get a job in Spain before Brexit, So we do have high unemployment. If you don't speak the language, it's tough. It's hard, but it's tough. You're dependent on expat industries, which I'm not saying aren't lucrative, but I would definitely give yourself 36 months rather than 12 months to find a job.
Good advice, yeah. So we've gone through the TIE. I've already mentioned that. We've done all of those. Anything else that's different regionally?
Not really. I mean, the wait times generally tend to be the same everywhere because the cards are produced by the FMNT. Same people do the driving licenses, the Royal Mint. So the wait times generally are the same. So no, I think we've been through most of the regional differences.
Good stuff. We'll talk about preparing for the renewal in a minute, but if anybody has any more questions on the live chat, bear in mind there's a 20 or 30 second delay, I think. So while we're waiting for all those questions to come in, and let me just remind you that if you have any more questions or comments after we go off the air, or I miss it for some reason, then you can ask in the comments below, and I will pass those questions on and get answers for you. Make sure you do it under the video on YouTube. I said this earlier, I keep on reminding people, but people are still going on to the Facebook group where they saw the video and clicked on the video, and then they go back to the Facebook group and ask a question under there, or they make a comment, and basically nobody else reads those ones. Because it just comes back to me as a notification. So none of the people who watch the video then get to benefit from the answer that I can give under the video, or that Chris can give. So do it on YouTube and everybody else will get the answers. It's a win-win-win. I'm going to put this up again. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. Woo! There we go. So while we're waiting for more questions, we want to talk about preparing for renewal, because that's what next week's show is all about. So let's prepare for next week's show by saying anything else we need to do.
Yeah, so now you've got your paperwork in place. You're here in Spain. You've got your TIE card and you're ready. Right, what are you going to do? Well, one of the big things that's come up first of all this year was the banks. Do you need a Spanish bank or not for the NLV? No, you don't for the initial NLV. Is it a good idea to have a high street bank? Moving forward, well, yes, we believe it is. Now, a lot of people have online platforms and stuff, but when you are preparing the documents from day one, obviously, when we come to the renewal, which we're going to explain next week, we're going to be asking for things like your financials, your healthcare, and where you live. So, if you haven't already got on the Padron, managed to do your TDH, appointment, register the visa without one, still go and get one. The finances, you consider moving, if you're using savings, moving those to Spain, which will make it easier for you to have the correct documentation when you come to renewal. And obviously your healthcare, you have to make sure that is still in place. Don't cut it, keep it. You can't just get your NLV, get rid of your healthcare, start again next year or whatever. You've got to keep that going and make sure that the renewal time for the healthcare coincides with when you actually need to renew.
Great stuff. Sorry.
Also, with that, it is possible to switch if you are a state pensioner, which you've actually done one again this month. If you private healthcare initially, you've retired, got your S1, registered it, you can use that for your renewal.
Excellent.
We'll go more into detail about that next week.
Good stuff. Sorry, I had to switch over to proper headphones. My earpods running out of charge there. Getting loads of messages. Jason says, no golf or swimming today, Chris?
Golf starts again next week for the kids. And there may be some swimming today later on. Chilling out after dinner, I think. So, just go and enjoy the weekend a little bit after a hectic week.
Excellent. So there's no more questions come through. So if we've missed out on that, and as I said, put them in the comments below and we'll get you answers, or maybe we'll just answer them next week. And don't forget to click on the like button, of course, yes, and subscribe if you haven't already, so you'll be the first to know what's coming up each week. And as we said on next Saturday's show, Chris will be with us again, and we'll be covering part 3 of your non-lucrative visa residency process, which is the residency renewal at the end of the first year, and of course at the end of the third year in Spain, because the renewal is for 2 years. You can ask questions in advance on the YouTooSpain Facebook community or the Facebook page, or you can subscribe to this YouTube channel and ask questions there, or you could even ask questions underneath Chris's video. There'll be a preview video that he puts out in the days leading up, and I should do one of those as well, really, but if I can find the time.
I'm getting better, yeah. Subscribe to ours as well. I never get to 4,000 watch hours. It's not fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Subscribe. How many subscribers have you got? You've got quite a few subscribers.
We're not doing too bad. Obviously, nowhere near what yours is, but we are at, I'll tell you now, what are we at? 2,200 we have.
Well, that's great. So you're past that, because you need to get past 1,000 in order to get...
2,210. That's not too bad, is it?
That's very good. Yeah. You just need the watch hours now.
Yeah, I'll have to do more. The driving videos. I did a couple of videos of just driving, recording, and everybody seemed to love them, so I'll do that. Yeah, they always work really well. Yeah. So, huge thanks to Chris once again for being amazing and helpful as usual. Oh, Rosemarie's come up with a question. Let's do that one then. Who'd have thought? Oh no, we are struggling to get on the Padron, been here for 2 months because the landlord
don't like the question he needs to give them. We are worried and looking for new rentals. Ah.
Yeah, I guess some landlords may not want you to be in a Padron if they don't declare the income, because I'm not accusing this landlord of doing that, and I don't know the circumstance, but I have seen problems.
Yeah. So it's either persuade the landlord or get somewhere else. That's going to be a bit tricky now, isn't it? Sorry about your difficulties there. And oh yeah, Chris, you need some Walter egos. That's what you need. You need some characters, and make your videos longer.
I'll have to wear a hat. I'm not very good at it. We forgot these actually. Look, I said we're going to give some of these away.
Oh yeah. Should we give away some of them? Who are the new ones? There was Chris. Are you still there, Chris? From your namesake, Chris. Shall we give you? Get in touch. Put something in the comments below and get in touch. Or actually no, send a message to Chris.
Yeah.
Is it info at?
Yeah, or support at upsticks.es. So we've got for the UK, we're going to send these nice folders because we can't send prizes to the UK because you'll get walloped for VAT. But if you've got somewhere we can send to you in Spain, we've got these mobile phone holders and fridge magnets.
Fridge magnets are great.
Yeah, I keep sticking on people's cars.
Fabulous. So yes, Chris, who was on the live chat, if you're still there, get in touch. Or we'll try and find a way. Jed Tierney says, finally, any chance of doing a show just for UK new retirees who want to move to Spain? Yes, we did one a few weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago. So check on the channel. If you can't find it, then put a comment below and I'll put the link underneath. And thanks for asking though. We've got videos about just about everything. In there, I think, I don't know, is it 250 videos I've done so far on here? So yeah, but by all means ask questions if there's anything that we've not covered yet. And we do tend to refresh them as well, and bring, because we've done lots of things about the non-lucrative visa, and there's always little changes and things that are happening and updates that we need to put on here.
Yeah, so, I do an S1 update every 6 months or so on my channel as well, just because it does change a little bit, timescales and stuff like that. And people don't understand the full process, and we've had problems with the consulates, so that's probably a good thing to do as well. Yeah, brilliant. We'll be doing an insurance one in, I think, a couple of weeks' time. I think it might be the 9th, whatever it is, in 2 weeks' time. I've got Sam coming on the show. Oh, awesome.
Chris knows Sam. So we'll be talking about all kinds of insurance, not just the health insurance, but any kind of insurance you need, which you'll find when you get here that you will need some others as well. So thanks to all of you for joining us on the live chat, and to anybody who's watching the video back afterwards, thank you so much for that. Leave comments, hit the like button, buymeacoffee.com. You can use that, or you can use the link down below if you can't use QR codes. And I will see you on the latest helpful video on Wednesday evening. I've almost decided what it's going to be about. And then next Saturday morning, of course, live with Chris at regular time of 9 o'clock if you're in the UK or Ireland or the Channel Islands, or 10 o'clock if you're in Spain, Central Europe, or 4 o'clock in the morning if you're in New York. That's the only other one I know. You'll have to work the others out for yourself. So thanks very much, Chris, and thank you. Somebody pass around the residency cookies. Peace and love to everyone.
Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. Anytime. Let's get back to the music, and everybody get ready to boogie. Here we go. And there it is. Bye-bye for now. Bye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.